Hello, and welcome to the Customer Engagement Lab. This is the premiere of Season 2. Wow, wow, wow. And we're back with some absolute banger business comedy content that I'm so excited to share with all of you. In this season, we've got new guests, new segments, and some new costumes. So if you're listening to this episode, I suggest you check out our YouTube channel for the full viewing experience. Also, if you live in or are visiting the Tampa Bay, Florida area, reach out. Let's chat, and maybe we can have you come on the show in person. In this episode, I sat down with my boss's boss, Shawn Herring. He's the VP of Marketing at PandaDoc, and we talked about his top secret experiments and efforts to engage and convert free trialers into paying customers. Towards the end of the episode, Shawn and I play a little round of Are You In or Are You Out? So stick around and enjoy the episode, everyone. Shawn Herring, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here in the studio.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
We have a lot to get into over the next 30 or so minutes, but before I get started, I want to kick off the episode and say thank you. A little brown-nosing here, but genuinely, the show wouldn't be possible without you and your support and guidance as my boss. It's just been really cool, genuinely, and shaped me into the marketer I am today. So thanks.
Thank you. All I did was put you in front of the mic. You did the rest.
I have people message me that are like, how did you get this role? And I'm like, he told me my superpower was not writing and said, get in front of the camera. And they're like, huh, smart guy.
It's a great, educated guess. Let's put it that way.
All right. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about free trialers and kind of the marketing strategy and a little bit of the product strategy behind it. But I wanted to just kick it off with a little TikTok. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Okay. This is going to be a genuine surprise.
Okay. So do you remember the company called Quibi?
Mm-hmm.
So this guy made a TikTok about it. I'll start it from the beginning.
This is how many users Quibi lost after their 3-month free trial expired. Okay, so you're probably aware of Quibi. They're the mobile-first streaming service, and they raised over $1 billion pre-launch. Nevertheless, according to the mobile analytics firm Sensor Tower, Quibi reportedly lost 90% of their early users after their free trial expired. Now, this means that Quibi went from having a reported 910,000 users on a free trial to 72,000 paying users, resulting in an 8% conversion rate. So this is not the end of the world, though it's safe to say that the hype surrounding Quibi is gone, and so are 90% of their customers.
So when I saw this video for the first time, and it's a little dated, I know Quibi was like very 2020, but I was just like looking for videos about like what gives probably like companies and executives like heart palpitations, is the idea of losing 90+% of your free trialers. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, I think when you look at industry averages, like let alone us or anywhere else, it's a free trial.
Yeah.
Like you can't have an expectation that everything's going to convert.
Yeah.
But it does hurt when you
does.
see how many people don't convert.
Yeah.
And that is a big topic for anybody that has a free trial program.
Yeah. And I think it's a great intro to what we're going to talk about today. So a few months ago, you put out an article in Forbes talking about what I think is a really cool secret shopper experiment that you and a few folks here at PandaDoc launched to better understand what a PandaDoc customer goes through, all the way from like very beginning awareness stages all the way to onboarding as a customer. Where did you get the idea to do that?
From people smarter than me. Like way smart. Every idea I have is not my idea. Just to be clear. So from the team, from just looking outside our doors, but it's pretty clear like we've been myopically focused on the customer, and it's time for us to actually experience what the customer's going through instead of just guess and put PowerPoints together.
Yeah.
And I've seen way too much of hypothesizing about what the customer should do or what we should do for the customer. And some people need to see reality.
Yeah.
And so what better way than have someone become the customer through that journey? And anybody who has the capability of customers coming in and engaging with the product or engaging with people should sit in the customer's shoes at least once. It's never what you think.
Yeah.
Ever. And it's okay.
And one thing that people don't realize is that you and Andre, who is our director of engagement, actually hired a full-time person to be this secret shopper, and like dedicate their attention to like this entire endeavor. So shout out to Nick Sisko. He's PandaDoc's customer experience program lead, and he was our secret shopper. He went undercover with like a fake company, with a fake website, and became a fake prospect. Do you mind giving us just like a quick summary of like what Nick went through as a PandaDoc?
Yeah, well, Nick really embraced the secret shopper.
He did.
He went full force. I was like, oh, and you did that too? And he's like, yeah, of course. The first thing we did was we made sure as much as we could that he looked and acted like someone that was not inside PandaDoc. So what would a genuine experience look like? What we found through that process was our hypothesis was wrong of what's actually happening with the customer. And we hear it sometimes in the sales team. We hear it sometimes from product. We hear it sometimes from anecdotal evidence that is brought to us in some way, shape, or form. But what we actually saw was we were bombarding customers, or when they wanted to engage, we weren't engaging enough. And so we just saw a lot of areas for improvement. But one thing that I did learn was it's very hard to stitch an entire customer journey together. Like extremely hard when you start to look at that first part of the experience, because there's so many options you could take. There's so many paths. It isn't just, I go this one way.
Yeah.
And a good customer journey gives the customer the ability to pick and choose. So it wasn't we're done. It took a long time because there's so many options on the journey that you could go through. And you're not done when the deal is signed, because then you're actually a customer. So then what do we do to help the customer? It was eye-opening across the entire executive team. We were like, interesting, didn't know that. And it actually spawned a lot of really good discussions that we've put into action throughout the year, and allowed us to focus in on like, what's the biggest gap? Yeah. So it was pretty impressive, honestly.
And I know like Nick found and cataloged basically his entire journey for us. God bless him. And it just like in really great detail. Was there anything that you were like most surprised to hear after you had a chance to sit down with him and like hear about some of his findings?
Yeah, how certain areas were worse than what we expected. We knew there's always room for improvement. Like, you're never done. Like, hey, the journey's done. It's great. But what I was really shocked by in a couple different areas is that things that we could absolutely control to improve the customer experience, we were not doing very, very well. And there were two parts to it. And whether it's a technology problem on our end, whether it's a routing problem on our end, whether it's a cadence problem, doesn't matter. Because on the receiving end, it's just like, this feels weird. So we had two of those, two very, very big, clear areas that caused a lot of interesting discussions. Just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
And like when we think about improving like free trial or adoption, right? So when we think about the free trial, I talked with Nick to like prepare for this episode, and he put it as like, it's someone dipping their toes in the water to test out a product or service with no strings attached. We all know, like for example, last month, I tried Apple TV Plus, their free trial for a week, and I converted after binging all of Ted Lasso in like 2 days. I was just hooked on their content, and I saw shows that I would love to try in the future. After your secret shopper experiment with Nick, he told me that the team was deciding to focus the plan on improving this path to adoption for free trialers. Why did we decide on that?
Yeah, it's the biggest lever that we can move the business with right now. When you start to look at marketing to try to drive revenue, when you look at our numbers, the best way we could drive revenue, the quickest lever, but also the most impactful one, is in the free trial. And any company like us is probably seeing the same thing. We saw that 90% lose 90% of your customers. Well, it costs a lot to get the first one in.
Yeah.
To even just sign up. So when you start to look at that whole process, it's painful to see them leave, but at the same time, the volume, the sheer volume, especially when we're dealing with companies in the size range that we are, you make a 0.5 point improvement in conversion rates. You're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
That's a pretty big deal. I remember having you explain to the marketing team like our just looking at our funnel and like the source of some of them. And I remember all of us kind of like circling that free trial area and being like, we get so many leads, and this is a conversion rate that we know we can improve.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to give the audience a foundation for this conversation, and like the folks over at a company that I really like called ProfitWill, they studied the data from thousands of SaaS subscription companies, and they looked at like customer acquisition costs and like trends, especially around like understanding the willingness to pay for products.
Mm-hmm.
And how, and in this video, they specifically talk about like freemium, which is different than free trial. I know that. But I think some of the logic does carry over. So I'm gonna pull that up real quick just to like set the stage for us.
When you look at the market, and it really doesn't matter if you're in B2B or B2C, customer acquisition cost is rising substantially. A customer that cost you $100 5 years ago is actually costing you $150 to $170 today because of the density in the market. We're all running ads. Everyone and their mother has an ebook. It's just a dense market. Interestingly enough, though, CAC for customers acquired through freemium is actually almost half, and even free trials are garnering 15% less CAC on an absolute basis. How is this connected to free, though? Well, if it's harder and harder to acquire a customer through content and all the channels we're currently using, and it's easier to build product, and the relative value of product is declining, we need a way to hook people in and lower their activation energy to becoming a customer. Free is one of the avenues to doing just that, and you see it in many of the core unit economics that stem from free. CAC, as we already discussed, is lower, but retention of customers who are acquired through free is also noticeably better. Those individuals who converted from a freemium plan have nearly 20% better net retention on an absolute basis than their non-free counterparts. Essentially, these customers were allowed to nurture on free as long as it needed before being eased into converting to a free customer. As markets become denser and denser, retention is going to be a bigger and bigger need when it comes to evaluating the customers and tactics we use long term.
All right, thanks ProfitWill team. I think that was really, really well done. So better retention, better NPS, better CAC. What's not to like here? The conversion rate is not to like.
Depending on where you're at.
True. But yeah, this leads me into, we actually had a PandaDoc current customer who was a free trialer, and his name is Will Allred. He is the co-founder of Lavender. He was a guest on this show, and he had a question for you. And let me pull it up here.
Hey, Shawn. Will Allred with Lavender here. So, Shawn, you and I both know that with free trials, if someone's not using the product, they probably aren't going to convert. And I have a core belief that friction is one of the key reasons for this. And sometimes that's product related, but other times it can be as simple as not knowing how to best use the product. Yeah, it freezes people up. But I'm not here for some fluffy story about fear of failure. This is a problem that has users missing out on a ton of use cases for how to use the product. And I know PandaDoc's got a ton of different ways that you could apply the core technology. So how are you teaching these free trialers all of the cool things that they can do with PandaDoc? All right, looking forward to your answer.
All right, thanks, Will. So yeah, what do you think about Will's question about improving that free trialer experience?
If I could answer that easily, I'd have my own business and my own island somewhere at this point in time, because he's not the only one asking that. Like,
yeah,
we're constantly asking, and he's right. Friction is the number one thing.
Yeah,
like reduction of friction. The buyer now has all the control at this point in time, through every facet, from seeing a product to buying the product to unsubscribing. You know, when you talk about software. But what was interesting about the question of how do you show all of the cool stuff? Well, that's the problem. You shouldn't try to show all of the cool stuff. Have you ever gone into something where it hurts your eyes when you see too many things? And there was research I read a while ago that too many options is actually a bad thing.
Yeah.
And there's a certain point where you over inundate someone where they opt out mentally, and so they don't pick any option. And so what we try to do is simplify as much as possible. Just what's the first one or two things that just show you the most value in the quickest period of time. And sometimes it's as simple as, here's a template. Here's how you use a template. Hey, send yourself a document. Like, if you can just reduce the friction of just understanding the core basics, you've now got momentum. And I'm a big fan of momentum breeds momentum. So if you start to get a little bit, then you can start to pile on, oh, now you've sent a document. Why don't you send it to somebody else? Why don't you invite somebody in? You can play around with it. Well, now you've started to get them to engage in different things, but you are trying to take them down an adoption path. And what our product team has spent a ton of time trying to figure out is, what's the ideal first couple steps? And then how do we see, does that impact your full adoption? Are there certain integrations that help you get stickier? What's the order that we should put them in? And I think the best companies don't have a certain, like, this is the way you do it. They're just ruthlessly prioritizing experimentation.
Yeah.
All the time. And our product team is one of the best that I've seen, is the data that we've got on seeing this is helpful or it's not helpful. It's not necessarily selfish. We're literally saying, can we get them value? It's all an experiment. So there's no single answer of, like, I'd show them everything. I think it's, or here's how we did it. It was a 10-step process. Honestly, we just experiment the hell out of it, and we just try to do bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
And if you can do a bite-sized chunk, it makes it easier to take the next one and the next one. And so you want to simplify as much as possible. What do you want to click? A screen with 100 buttons or with one?
Just let me push the button.
There you go. So as much as you can simplify that, but you got to test. What's the right button?
Yeah.
You never know.
I think from a marketing perspective, what was cool to hear when I chatted with Nick about this as well is there was like a massive overhaul with him and Nate Torvik, who is our email marketing manager, to fix our automated cadences that are going to free trialers, and really tearing it apart because we were, as Nick put it, we were sending people stuff that was completely irrelevant to them. And so our goal was to immediately show them what they want to see in our emails. So you sign up for a free PandaDoc trial, and it's massively complex as to the web flow of like what email you get when. But it was cool to see that they were focusing both on action and inaction. So if somebody wasn't taking any action in the free trial, we would change what we would send to them. And that to me was like,
Well, spoiler alert, that was one of those two areas where I was like, oh, that is extremely painful. We're not doing a good job. That was one of them.
Yeah.
And we knew it, but we didn't know. You don't see it until somebody gives you a screenshot and puts it on a timeline.
Yeah.
And you look at it and you go, wow.
Yeah.
We could do so much better, and we control every bit of what just happened.
Yeah.
And so we did.
Yeah.
We took control of trying to give the customer that better. It's the classic like personalized experience.
Yeah.
And it sounds easy, but every marketer knows, like, yeah, you personalize, you right message, right time. Everybody's said that. To do that, you gotta be super intentional.
Yeah.
And you gotta also be very honest with yourself. And that the secret shopper, honesty hurts sometimes. Sometimes more than a paper cut. But I mean, you need to feel it though.
Yeah.
Like you need to get rid of what's hurting. And if you're not feeling the pain, who is?
Yeah.
Your customer.
So Will, to help answer the question as well, it sounds like we're focusing from both a marketing perspective and a product perspective.
Oh, it has to be both. It has to be.
I would say that one of the things that I've liked seeing the most is the marketing team regularly meeting with the product team. Before Nick was involved in his role, there was some siloed efforts, and like I bet Will was unfortunately part of this, where like he would get some messages that were coming from our product team in an email, and then he was getting some like marketing PandaDoc emails, and he's like, just show me how to do this stuff. And I'm happy to see that we're combining those efforts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on the receiving end, do you care who sent the email?
No.
No. Do you care what's in the email? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And I think whether it's an email is not the only thing. Like you have the in-app experience as well. You might even have, I click something in the product and I want to talk to somebody, right? Like that whole thing, nobody on the receiving end of that could give a shit what department it comes from. Except on the inside, if you have multiple departments fighting over stuff or not talking, it becomes very clear.
Yeah.
On the customer side.
Yeah. I actually reached out to our product leader for growth here at PandaDoc, Constantine, and he shared with me a bunch of really cool experiments his team built into the PandaDoc product, some of which you mentioned, but they might be inspiring for Will and some of our listeners to try with their own free trials and some of the marketing strategies. So these are he sent me a lot. Like you said, they are the kings and queens of A/B testing and experiments, but these are my 3 favorite. So a welcome template for new users presents them with a beautiful template as soon as they log into PandaDoc so that they're not staring at a blank document. The user is prompted to complete a few core actions like adding variables, pricing tables, and signature fields, and it's driving the user to send their first document.
Momentum.
Yep.
Small little bits of momentum, and each one of those is super easy.
Yeah.
Oh, great. I landed in this. Oh, great. There's a couple fields.
Yeah.
Oh, great. There's this. And it's little bite-sized chunks. And if you were to try to get somebody to do all of that all at once to try to figure all of that out, that's where you see drop-offs like crazy. It's like it's overwhelming, not as simple as what I want. And that's what people are coming to us for. And actually a lot of other companies that have a free trial is simplicity. Make it as easy as possible for me. So yeah, the product team's been phenomenal.
Yeah.
Phenomenal in the approach.
But I love this theory of like the 2 teams working together. Because until we had somebody dedicated to this in this role, doing the secret shopper experience and being like, hello, there's a problem here. You guys are brilliant, but we need a tag team on this.
Yeah, we were talking past each other to the customer.
Yeah.
And I mean, that happens.
It does.
But we're at that point where, thankfully, everybody was like, okay.
Yeah. Let's fix this together.
Let's work on it together. And it's honestly been an ongoing conversation. I just came out of one this week with product, exactly around that customer experience around adoption of the free trial.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's still a topic of conversation, and it always should be.
The next 2 things he shared with me, the second one was view the document experience as a recipient. So we really want to get folks comfortable with sending a document. And the biggest fear is, but what will my recipient see? Is it going to look like, dog water, as the Gen Z would say? So the user sees the recipient experience right away. And then the third one is the dev team tested this empty pages suggestion feature where because new blank documents look ugly and they scare people away from investing a lot of time because they're like, oh my God, I have to create this whole, like, it's a blank canvas. Like, it's intimidating. So we suggest content that they can add in 1 click to create a beautiful page.
1 click.
Yep.
I mean, keep it simple. And it's very hard to simplify something. It's actually harder to simplify something for you to make it easy for them. And that's why you have so many teams working on something that you might just be like, it's a button. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
You care when you see what happens when you have a single button that's very intuitive versus, I hope it works. Like, run around and figure it out. Yeah. There's been game changer type of experiments that come through. But Travis, you said something that triggered while we were talking through that. When you look at it from the customer perspective, and what Nick Sisko did really well, he had an objective point of view.
Yeah. Like a consultant.
Yeah. It's like, I got no skin in the game.
Wow.
I didn't build that email. I didn't build the widget in the product. I didn't set up the cadence for calls. Like, I have no skin in the game other than what does this look like, feel like, and how does it help me progress?
Yeah.
That is the one thing that the secret shopper experience highlights to people that are subjective. Oh, I built the email. Well, of course it's amazing, right? Like, oh yeah, of course I want to receive 7 emails in 7 days. No, not really. And we might be doing that now. I don't know, but it's
we've narrowed it down. I think Nick told me we're going to 7 across 14 days.
Yeah, but what I like that Nate has done, Nate Torvik on the email team, is it's an engaging model. If I do this, it's a classic like
If then.
architecture.
Yeah.
It's not predicated on what we want.
Correct.
It's predicated on their behavior, their interest. And so we might send 7 emails if they are showing intent, like I want more, I want more, I want more. Great.
Yeah.
Open the door. But
If they're stuck at that moment, that like pre-momentum, like cliff, we're just gonna be like, send that email, baby,
a little bit.
or send that PandaDoc. Send that PandaDoc. Once you send it, you're hooked. You got it. You've done it.
Yeah, I that's one thing that we wanted to make sure with that secret shopper is it cannot be somebody who is a part of the process. Can't be.
Yeah.
It biases everything because a salesperson will go, yeah, this is great. Go as hard as you can. Well, they're biased, right? Versus a product person is like, yeah, absolutely. We're going to show everything.
Yeah. All these features have equal importance, guys.
The email team might go, we're going to send as many emails as humanly possible
To ensure that our open rates are the best as possible.
So you're all biased, even if you have the best intentions.
Yeah.
And so Nick brought a very unbiased opinion.
I like that.
Yeah, and that's I've learned that the hard way multiple times.
Shout out Nick Sisko.
Yeah, way too many times where it's you have a subjectivity or a bias already inherently built in to something that you have to be objective about. And so sometimes it's better to just have someone from the outside or you not be involved in what happens in making the sausage and then experience it. So you can just see, I'm on the receiving end, not on the making end.
Yeah.
And I call this out because that button, that single button to make it as easy as possible, I can guarantee you that was not somebody going, I want to put a ton of time and effort across multiple teams and multiple departments and spend all this time to figure out how do we create this one button. It was like, no, a person just wants to push one button. So reverse engineer it.
Yeah.
How do we make that happen? Because an engineer might want to show 80 buttons because they're so super cool.
So it's not only that, this role that you and the team created was consultative. They were an advocate as well for the customer.
Oh yeah, and we built it into the team. We put it into a part of the marketing team that was slanted towards that.
Yeah.
It was the customer-centric part of the marketing department. So the bias is the customer.
Yeah.
It's like, so if that's your only bias is the customer, we're gold, right?
It's like having a cab built into a role.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that.
All right, so the last segment I want to do with you involves the whiteboard that's sitting next to you.
I was wondering what this was.
It's a fun little game. So it's called In or Out. I'm going to read 5 statements about free trial statements. So go ahead and write the numbers 1 through 5 on your whiteboard. And then as I make the statements, you'll write down if you're in or you're out on these. And then after, we'll kind of dissect it and talk about it. All right, so statement number 1. Are you in or out? Marketing to free trialers is harder and less effective than marketing to freemium users. Marketing to free trialers is harder and less effective than marketing to freemium users.
See, there's 2 in there. There's an and. One more time. Read it to me one more time. This is high drama TV. Watching me think with a Sharpie in my hand.
As he sweats.
Yeah. Oh, man.
What did that VP of marketing say? Marketing to free trialers is harder and less effective than marketing to freemium users.
Okay.
Statement number 2. I think they'll get a little easier. That one was to trip you up. Sales should stay out of the free trial outreach and let marketing handle it completely.
I can't answer in or out. I can't. And the only reason I can't answer in or out is there is no single answer. There isn't.
That's okay.
Like, you have to test it.
Okay.
We were literally doing that right now.
Yeah.
It depends on your product. Depends on your audience. There's so many things that one statement depends on.
Yeah.
If you can get to the point where the customer is expecting or wants or showing the signals that there should be engagement beyond the product, 100%. But if you have a product that's super complicated and needs a lot of explanation and a free trial is just to like signal some intent, then you might have to put a salesperson in to walk them through because it might be too complicated.
Yeah.
So that's
You can write in and out.
I'm doing
Or you can
I'm
write
doing it.
Yeah, you can write in and out. There are no hard and fast rules in this silly podcast game. Statement number 3, PandaDoc should extend its free trial to 1 month so marketing can better nurture those leads for improved conversion opportunities. Statement number 4, the biggest mistake marketers make in free trial outreach is overwhelming prospects with irrelevant information. And then finally, statement number 5, building and implementing personalized email cadences based on user action or inaction during free trials is the best use of marketing resources possible.
All right.
You can
we
show
go.
the camera.
Out.
Okay. Why do you disagree with that?
What I've seen with freemium versus free trial. Free trial is the whole product.
Yep. You get everything.
Freemium
At least a
is a
PandaDoc.
portion.
Yeah. The only constraint is time.
Yeah. I think the reason I would go if you offer both.
Yeah.
Because we offer both.
Yeah, we do.
If people are opting for a free trial,
Yeah.
then you get a much larger indicator of what they're trying to do versus freemium is
It's
I
limited.
could live or I don't really care, right? It's just like it's free,
Yeah.
so who cares? But free trial, if you can see any kind of intent in there, like they're kicking the tires over here, or they want to do this, or they're not bound, depending on your free trial, they're not bound by any kind of restriction that usually freemium does.
Mhm.
Now, freemium, if you build freemium right, you put those bounds in where you can go, well, if you want this, here's a shiny object, click here.
Yeah.
But I would say the free trial gives you a much better opportunity to show the breadth of the product or the depth depending on what that person wants.
Yeah.
Freemium does not. And so if you can get that personalization to your last question, if you can dial that in with your product team and marketing team, like I'm looking for that 1 or 2%, right?
Yeah.
Like you do that and you have volume around free trial like we have. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would agree. I think marketing to free trialers is not necessarily harder or less effective.
I feel like I'm taking a test.
Like what you
I'm all like stressed out.
Oh, this is supposed to be a business comedy show.
There's nothing funny about this so far. There's nothing funny about anything that I'm talking about. All right. Got the first one.
All right. The second one, sales should stay out of the free trial outreach and let marketing handle it.
All right. I'm
You
going to
wrote
do,
in
this is
and
where I was in and out. And I'm going to, there it is. In and out. Number 2.
So why do you say that?
Too much depends.
Yeah.
Way too much depends.
I agree.
I have seen companies that have a very clear bias towards that. I'm not going to call them out. And I think if you're biased towards your opinion versus understanding what the flow is looking like, and you have to just do that through testing,
Yeah.
you'll never, like, you're inherently blind to something. And so I would say it's in and out. Just depends on what your tests prove.
I watched a really good keynote from Tomas Tungas at SaaStr from 2019.
Jeez.
He did some really cool research on subscription models, and one of the things that he pointed out that I thought was interesting, and you actually brought up, so you passed the test, Shawn.
Yes. Check.
Was
2 for 2.
There's so many dependencies on this answer, and one of the biggest ones that he found in his research was the cost of your product, because to hire a salesperson is expensive.
Yep.
And also, depending on their commission and everything, like it gets costly. So if you have a very expensive product, it might make sense to have sales outreach during a free trial.
Yeah, that makes a ton.
It would make more sense.
I could see a sliding scale of, if you're focused on SMB, then probably no.
Yeah.
If you're focused on enterprise, then probably yes.
Yeah.
And there's a cost component, but there's also when you're dealing with enterprise, there's a lot more to it. It's not just usually a simple, I'm just going to do this widget, and it's just me that is impacted. Yeah. Usually it's multiple layers inside that organization and all that kind of stuff. So I could see a sliding scale of keeping sales out versus pulling them in. But yeah, it's data. Like I would use data all day long on that one.
Statement number 3, PandaDoc should extend its free trial to 1 month so marketing can better nurture those leads for improved conversion opportunities. In or out? I think you wrote out.
I'm out. Should I keep showing this? Okay. Out.
Why are you out?
If that's the comedic value I'm adding, is showing this whiteboard. I'm out because the second part of your statement. Read the statement again.
PandaDoc should extend its free trial to 1 month so marketing can better nurture those leads for improved conversion opportunities.
So marketing can nurture those leads. Cut that. If you were to say PandaDoc should extend its free trial to 30 days because it helps the customer, yeah, we only market to help the customer.
Yeah.
So if it's just for us,
Yeah.
no, I wouldn't do it.
Good point. Good point.
And I passed that one. I'm not going to wait for your
You
answer.
did pass. Again, Thomas from the SaaStr presentation.
I did see. I'm worried about this.
He agreed with you. His study showed that there was no difference in conversion rates, whether your free trial was 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month.
Oh yeah, I actually yes.
There was no difference.
When did he do that? Do you remember?
2019 was the.
It's a couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually remember. I actually remember talking.
I
to
watched
someone.
that presentation.
I did actually remember talking to somebody about have we tested this?
Yeah.
Because there's always been a discussion depending on whose team you're on.
Yeah.
And it was just just let the data show it.
Yeah.
So we did.
I skipped one. Statement number 4: biggest mistake marketers can make in free trial outreach is overwhelming prospects with irrelevant information. Okay, that was number 4.
Yeah.
You wrote in.
Circled because that is what we found.
Yeah.
I mean that is exactly what we found.
Gotcha.
Is email is not. You can't think of email as just the opportunity for. The more volume I send, that increases my chance of getting you.
Yeah.
It's not a cold call. Cold calling is a game. It's very much a numbers game, but with email, it's not the same. And you just need to give opportunities to engage at the right moment, not just barrage people until they beat them into submission. Customers have too many options to just go, no thanks. And many, many people have said no thanks to email after email after email after email. Plus, once you start doing that too much, you hit the spam folder more than the inbox. And that's death.
Damn.
I've seen it.
Statement number 5: building and implementing personalized email cadences based on user action and inaction during free trials is the best use of marketing resources possible. I see a hard out on
Out.
that one.
No circles, but an out. I don't. Read that one more time because there was something in there that was my trigger. Like every one of these, I have a little trigger.
The
on
trigger was my use of best use of marketing resources
Yes.
possible. I think you were like, there is no best use. It's a matter of.
It's the classic. Like I'm the marketer that will never commit. I'm in, out, depends, sliding scales. I've learned. Trust me. Like I've learned. You can't commit. There's no definitive anything.
Yeah.
So did
you,
I pass?
You passed the test.
Yes.
I'm glad that I got to test my.
Can you tell that I like taking tests? I was a good test taker. I haven't taken a test in a long time, so.
Shawn, thank you for coming onto the Customer Engagement Lab, man.
Absolutely.
This was fun. We are so excited for season 2. This was the first episode. Next week, we will have an episode that's a little different. It'll be what we call a solo episode, and there will be no necessary guest interviews. So stay tuned for that. Go check it out, and thanks for listening.